Hello, everybody. Welcome to Horror Movie Yearbook. I'm Tim.
I am Willie.
I just realized that, I didn't test, but we're both recording, so there we go.
We're back. We're back in person.
We are.
Yep. I'm over the COVID.
Yeah, so just a heads up, I forgot to even, up front, I'll apologize. We didn't do a Tiny Terror last week because we just wanted to get through the episode.
I was tired.
You were getting over COVID?
Getting over it at that point, yep.
And I had to get up. I just got back. I was getting on a flight to Hawaii in like 4 hours after we were done recording.
Yeah, it was...
So I'm just like, let's get this edited. So we got the show out.
We did.
It was a pretty good show content-wise. I don't know.
I thought so.
Yeah, it was good. We did it.
We did our best.
We did our best, but
did our best.
Apologies for no Tiny Terror last week. We'll make it up to you with one.
Yes.
This week.
We will. We'll make it happen.
So yeah, we are going to get started here in a second. Willie, do you want to tell the good folks where they can send us feedback if they would like?
Of course. You can email us, horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com. We are on Twitter at HMYearbook. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. All those good places. So yeah, I'd say we email us or tweet at us. Those are your best bets.
Okay.
I would
say so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones.
The ones I monitor more closely, I suppose.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, how you been? Are you feeling better?
I am feeling better, yes. I've been, fully back to normal for a solid, week or so, where I had that lingering, where I was just really tired.
Yeah.
Where I didn't feel sick or anything, and, I didn't have a fever, no other symptoms. I just was, I would get about 3 hours into my day, and I'm like, I gotta lay down.
Yeah.
So that lasted for a few extra days after. And no, back to normal now. Everybody's feeling good. My daughter started school, which is great. Finally.
How's it going? Good?
It's going good, yeah. I haven't heard any sort of negative feedback.
No dust-ups?
Nothing so far.
No fisticuffs?
No fisticuffs. Nothing so far, She's just getting the hang of it.
I don't know how old kids are when they start rumbling in schools.
Oh, I bet there's preschoolers that rumble.
Yeah, you know what? I remember when I was in, I think it was kindergarten now. I got in trouble. I went to a Catholic kindergarten.
Okay.
I got in trouble because I got in a little bit of a dust-up.
It can happen.
I hit a kid with a broom.
Yeah, I mean...
Talk shit, get hit.
Yep.
That's all I
Don't start and there won't be none. Yeah, I mean, I could see a kid getting kind of mad about, I want to play with that train.
Yeah.
Or that doll, and then the other kid going, "Nah, I'm playing with that." I could see some.
Oh, and just to clarify, yeah, I probably would have gotten in trouble at a non-Catholic, like a public school as well.
Yes,
for hitting a kid with a broom. That was,
to be fair, yes,
probably
it probably had nothing to do with the school you were going to, and more with the broom assault.
I don't know. I was a rebellious young man.
I mean, you still are, right? You're a rebel at heart. You're a rebel at heart.
Yes.
But yes, no, things are back to normal, relatively as normal ever is. So I'm happy about that.
Good.
Definitely feeling good about that. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's not waste any more time here.
Let's not do it.
Let's not waste any more time catching up on how we've been personally.
Yeah, on my personal life.
Let's talk about John Carpenter.
Yeah, now we're talking. This is what people are here for.
Yeah, speaking of feedback, we got some feedback from. Well, no, it's not feedback. We have John, fellow co-host. Yes, he co-hosted.
Yes,
he helped us out with
couple of
Army of the Dead, right? Was
the
main one. He was
so.
Major one. He helped us out on. We'll have John again on sometime in the future if there's ever another Zack Snyder movie coming up.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll reach
John's
out.
always invited for the Zack Snyder fiestas.
Yes. If there is a Zack Snyder, except for that one that I never watched, the bank robber one that came out, that was 2 hours last year.
That was kind of like a spinoff of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's doing something anyway? Well, I'll look into it, and John, you can rejoin us. We'll have you. You're our Zack Snyder Netflix specialist.
Yes, yes.
But he is monitoring. We do Carpenter's Corner here, which is a segment where we cover what John Carpenter is up to.
Just anything. It can be not what he's up to now, even. And in this case, it was an older bit, but what he's been up to. Right?
John has been monitoring the scene, the Carpenter scene.
John's been keeping an eye on his fellow John.
Yes. And this tweet comes from a John Frankensteiner, which is a great name.
Fantastic.
Yes, who tweeted out an older video of John at what I believe is a convention.
Some sort of con, yeah.
Yeah, and it says only so many variations of John Carpenter as the king one can post, but John Carpenter is the king. And it's a quick 5-second video of someone saying Escape from New York was great. What the hell happened with Escape from LA? And Carpenter, he does the old man like flip off too, where he does he gives the finger, and he also does that hand motion where you put your arm in between the whatever you call it, the elbow here, yes. The inside of the elbow, and he does the flip off there. Like it's a full on.
It's a forceful.
It's like a full on. He flips the guy off and he goes, "Fuck you."
And he meant it.
He is like the crowd kind of like laughs. Or like kind of woos, but you could tell in his face he
was pissed,
very irritated by this question.
He was annoyed.
All right, so I wanted to talk about you, talk to you about this because John has a bit of a reputation.
Sure,
there are a couple of people who have reputations for being cranky,
curmudgeon-y, perhaps.
Savini's the other one I think of when in the horror realm.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
But like when I watch a video like this, I'm kind of like. I don't blame John for being a little irritated with this Joker.
No, I don't. This guy had to be put in his place. First of all, Escape from LA rules.
Let's start there.
Would I have always said that? No, I could see myself being in a play. There was certainly a time in my life when I didn't love Escape from LA. Maybe I was looking for something that was, closer to Escape from New York in terms of like the tone and maybe I wanted a sequel that felt more like. I wanted Escape from New York, but with a bigger budget.
Right.
That's not what Escape from LA is.
Escape from LA is like a straight up goofy, campy parody of LA.
Much like New York is very representative of what New York was perceived to be at that time as well. So it really is. It's genius. It is a ridiculous film, but it is so fun. Yeah. And it's a perfect like skewering of that entire LA culture and that I don't know. It works.
No, like you said, one's a New York movie, one's an LA movie,
and they're very much those things.
Yes,
the tone, the look, the whole thing, the whole package.
Basketball scene, surfing with Peter Fonda.
Absolutely, yes. This is all stuff that feels very New York and or LA. So no, I have grown to appreciate Escape from LA. I'm certainly the proud owner of the Blu-ray. I will not ever be sad about owning that. So I can understand, somebody who maybe didn't like it. I get that. I understand that. But don't be a dick. Like you had a chance to ask John Carpenter a question.
Yeah.
You went to a convention. You paid money to get into the convention. You presumably stood in line for the John Carpenter Q&A, and I'd imagine that line was sizable.
Yes.
And a long wait. And you were one of the few people in that hall that was chosen to be able to speak one-on-one with John Carpenter. And instead of asking him any question about any subject, you instead get snarky about Escape from LA.
I think this is a thing. So we've talked about this before in the past. We kind of cringe at actors or directors slamming their own work.
It can be
the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern jokes.
It gets to be too much.
I've cringed at those because it is kind of like, okay, then why'd you make it? Like, what happened? I believe that most of the time nobody sets out to make a bad movie.
No,
things just happen.
No,
and I'm with you. I don't think Escape from LA is a bad movie.
I don't think so. No,
but if John Carpenter wanted to say it's a piece of shit, he has the right to do that. That's his movie.
Sure.
I don't like it necessarily, but he has the right to do that. As a fan, I don't think you have the right to insult someone's work like that. Like, he worked hard, like a lot of people worked hard on that movie.
I don't blame him for being pissed. I mean, it just, people, luckily a lot of it's been relegated to the internet, which I can avoid if I need to. But like, a lot of people just spend so much energy hating on things that they don't enjoy instead of like celebrating the things they love. It makes no sense to me.
Right.
I don't, and I will say this. I pride myself on the fact that you and I on this show have always been. We've never been one to tear things apart.
Right.
It's rare that we rant about something we didn't like. It's very rare. I can't even think of a specific example. Maybe somebody can remind us, but like I think it is a waste of energy, just an absolute waste of energy.
There have been movies in the past that we haven't liked, that we've done, or that we think are not very good, and we have gone out of our way to try to find something interesting to talk about.
Because I think that's like, if you're sitting down and watching a movie, 90 minutes, 2 hours, if you're going to watch the new Black Panther, almost 3 hours. Yeah. So you're spending time. You're spending probably your money and absolutely your time, both of which are important, and time certainly is precious. You're doing this, and if the only thing you can walk away with is a bunch of negative bile that you just spew, then what are we doing? Right. I mean, I guess for me, like, even if, yes, I walk away from a 90-minute movie or a 2-hour movie going, yeah, not for me, I want to at least like walk away with something to think about or talk about. There's got to be an aspect of something there that at least could inspire a fun conversation. Mm-hmm. And I've tried to be that way as much as possible throughout my adult life. You know, my teen years and stuff, I certainly, in my early 20s, I was probably a little snarky about things, but just life's too short, man. Life's too short.
And I try to think about what I like to like listen to or watch, and I personally, and I'm sure there are plenty of people that do, I don't like watching or listening to people tear something down for like an hour and a half, like just hate on a movie. I prefer people to listen to people talk about stuff they enjoy and stuff they love.
I always have, yeah. And if you're going to talk about something you didn't enjoy or you didn't like because you're reviewing it for some purpose, that's fine. I mean, we did that plenty when we were on Film Nerds. I mean, there were countless movies that we saw for Film Nerds that I wasn't into and I didn't enjoy. But and I'm sure I had negative things to say about those movies. But you know, I think if it's okay to try and find any aspect of a movie to latch onto and talk about that and try and keep it positive. You can say I don't like a movie, but still say that, man, that performance is really cool.
Right.
Like, you know, and it's funny because sometimes like I wouldn't want to go back and listen to myself 10 years ago, like my own opinions 10 years ago. I wonder how different it would be. Like, I would hope I wasn't super negative about things, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Right.
I don't know. Your priorities shift in life. I mean, you just don't. I don't got time for it. Now I just watched Love Island on Peacock. I've
seen commercials for Love Island. That's a Brit show. That has
this is the U.S. version I've been watching.
U.S. version,
yeah.
Yes. It's. I've seen this pops up every time I log in.
Every once in a while, I really need something mindless and trashy.
Right.
I need it.
Yeah.
I need to scratch that itch. It's not super often, but every once in a while, I really. Right now, that's scratching the itch.
Who you got? Who you like on that show?
I don't know any of their names.
That's the best way to
Dolph
watch.
Ziggler was on though.
Okay, is he like a contestant?
No, sadly.
What was he doing?
He was like hosting a challenge where they had to wrestle balloons or something. I don't know. This is why I love it. I don't.
What's your favorite like trashy reality show like that of all time? Is it Rock of Love? Flavor of Love?
Yeah, you know, I was into VH1 at that point.
The VH1, those two especially are the ones that stick out in my head.
Those are my two favorites.
Rock of Love, Flavor of Love, I Love New York was another one, right?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, that's all good stuff. You know, would I go back and watch it now? Absolutely not. But that definitely started my weird kind of side quest of.
I had a buddy who went back and rewatched Rock of Love, like. I believe during the pandemic. It was one of his pandemic comfort food shows.
I started watching it again, too. Yeah. So I guess I'm a liar because I did start watching it again. Interestingly enough, I think at the time it was on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it still is, but it's uncensored.
Yeah. I can say it. It's Davis.
Okay, yeah.
You know Davis.
But like they're like swearing and there's like boobs in Rock of Love. And I was like, this is crazy. It's wild.
I mean, the DVD versions of Rock of Love, I believe, were uncut, so because that was part of the selling point.
I didn't realize any of that, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I would assume they just put those versions up.
That makes sense.
Amazon.
But I would watch things like even stuff like Viva La Bam, different vibe, but like still kind of a trashy,
dumb.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a soft spot for that stuff. I don't want to eat up too much of my time watching that because there's so much good stuff to watch. But here's my thing with all the good stuff to watch sometimes. It feels like fucking homework to me. It does. No, it does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
There are so many shows, movies, video games, all this stuff that gets so hyped, and I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's wonderful for the people that are doing it.
Right.
For me, I at a certain point I feel like I'm doing homework.
Yeah.
Just so I can stay in the loop on this stuff. I just don't want to do that anymore. I have no desire to do it anymore.
This is part of the reason. This has always been part of the reason why I do why I watch sports is because it gives me like a 2-hour window to. I wouldn't say shut my brain off because I'm thinking about different things, but it gives me like I'm not sitting there and like wondering what comes next in the plot or like wondering what happened with this person earlier in the show. Like I'm sitting there and I'm losing myself.
Yeah,
mentally
just an experience,
and
emotionally. And that's why I watch wrestling.
Yeah, exactly.
And really, when it comes down, like the athleticism and all that, all that stuff, like it's great, it's fun. But really, it's just a great way to kind of lose myself for a couple hours.
Right.
And just enjoy the ride, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to watch prestige TV all the time. That's the lesson. Or prestige movies all the time. If there's one thing you can take from our podcast, it's this. What's that?
Take a break from that stuff every once in a while.
Yeah.
Watch some Love Island. It's going to be good for you. Watch some 90 Day Fiancé.
Or watch this coming up November 3rd on Shout Factory TV, Tokushoutsu, Scream Factory TV, and Shout Cult. I think if you go on the Shout Factory website,
they have channels.
They have channels. I think it's the same. I think they have these on some of them on Pluto TV. I know Shout and Scream Factory have channels on Pluto TV, and I would assume they're showing this John Carpenter marathon. What it is it's a Scream Factory has recruited John Carpenter for a special Godzilla monster marathon that he is hosting.
John's a big fan of Godzilla.
Yes,
big fan.
Yes,
as am I. So.
Before Dark Star, right, is his student film or his USC, the one he made in USC. Before that, he made a bunch of student films, and one of them was like Gorgo versus, is it Gorgo? Or is it Gorgon? I can't remember. Versus Godzilla. It was an amateur film. He made a bunch of amateur films. One of them was a Godzilla movie that he made as a young man. They've never seen the light of day. They're kind of this like hidden thing that he'll never release. They've kind of achieved kind of cult legendary
It'll
status.
pop up one day.
Yeah, if it was going to pop up here, I would be advertising it if I were Scream Factory to get people. But I think it's probably free. These are 24/7 streaming things. What they're doing. So he's going to be hosting these. He's got 4 Godzilla movies. I'm gonna give them to
4.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna see how you.
I haven't seen the list, so I'm excited.
He's doing the original Japanese Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean that's the best.
He has Rodan after that.
Rodan, cool movie, very horror oriented, a lot like that first Godzilla, where it's much more horror oriented. So that's a good fit.
I see what he's doing here too. I'll tell you what he's doing here because maybe you might be able to guess why he's picked these. Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster.
Great choice. Yeah, great movie.
And then sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, no, it's great. It's good stuff.
Last one is the War of the Gargantuas.
Oh, that's an interesting pick too. That one is actually, it's not technically a Godzilla movie. It's a Toho movie. I think it's Frankenstein. I think like Dr. Frankenstein makes giant monsters or something, and they fight each other. If I remember correctly, it's been a while. That one I'm kind of foggy on War of the Gargantuas. I've seen it, but...
So what it says here is he sits down to present his 4 favorite monster films directed by Ishiro Honda.
Oh, sweet!
So all of these would be directed by
Honda. Yeah, legend in that realm for sure. I like this. It's not the movies I would have expected necessarily. I hope it's successful, so he does another batch. I'd love to see John do. I would love to listen to John do a commentary on Godzilla versus the Smog Monster / Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Right.
Because it's this weird, trippy, like acid-filled 70s Godzilla movie. And I think John would have a great time with that. So, here's hoping.
So I think that's it. They did, as far as Carpenter goes, he released a track from Halloween. And it's pretty in line with the rest of his work in this trilogy. Did you listen to it or no?
I have not, but I kind of
out.
I kind of know what to expect from.
Yeah,
and that's not a complaint.
I am kind of hoping, since it's the last one, maybe whatever. I'm hoping maybe he gets a little weirder on some of them.
I will say I remember being really excited by the Halloween 2018. Yeah, 2018 soundtrack. I mean, there was some really cool familiar motifs and themes and stuff in there, but like he did some stuff in that with that score that I was like, whoa! I like in the theater, I was like, what is that? That Shape Hunt's Allison track is the one that always.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And that was lacking a bit in Kills for me.
Okay.
The score was great. It just felt a little bit more. He was just doing a Halloween score, and that's fine. That's the assignment, right?
Yep.
Hoping he gets a little bit more. Tries some different themes and goes a little out there with this one.
I'm in the same. What's been the one that was released? I thought, and I only had a chance to listen to it once. A little slower. I thought it was very in line with the other two.
Yeah,
so
and that's fine.
Yeah,
it's okay to have some continuity there, and I haven't listened to his Firestarter score completely yet.
Oh yeah,
but the track I heard was quite good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess the guy's musically, he might be more talented as a musician than he was as a director, which is insane to me to say that.
Right.
Because he's like one of, if not my favorite directors of all time, but he's like just as good. It's nuts. It's insane. I love it. I hope that we get a lot more Carpenter scores in the near future. I really hope it continues. Firestarter made me excited because
it was something.
It's something new.
Yeah, something outside of Halloween.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about John Carpenter. Let's talk about one of our other favorite things, Friday the 13th.
Yes, our shared favorite franchise,
yes.
Right?
All right.
Yeah.
So this started about a month ago. Actually,
can I just say the fact that there's stuff to talk about is exciting?
Yeah, and so I'm going to go through here, and then I'm going to ask, should we be excited? But
yeah,
so this started probably more than a month ago when the lawsuit was settled or whatever. It ended, essentially.
Victor Miller won.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a lawyer. I will defer to one Mr. Larry Sarner, who is always on there on
best
Twitter.
The best.
Shelley. But I will say, yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm just happy it's over.
I don't either. Yeah.
I'm
happy it's over because that's one step closer to like getting something. Hopefully, I would hope.
So shortly after that, not too long ago, this was in August, a producer went on the the Boo Crew podcast, which I believe is a bloody disgusting podcast. I'm sure they're great. Don't listen to them. Listen to us.
We were too lazy to submit ourselves to the bloody disgusting podcast call.
Oh, you know what?
Did we ever do that? Did we do that?
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. Yeah. So good for them.
You know what, though? This just hit me. We have ins now with how we're going to review. We have strategies. You can talk to Carpenter about Godzilla movies.
Yes.
And I can talk about basketball. And we'll surround him with these.
Yes.
But
wasn't there a Godzilla versus Charles Barkley comic book?
Yes. There was a commercial, too. It started out as a Nike commercial.
That's how we get it.
Yep.
That's how we started.
Yeah.
John, you ever see that commercial?
So there was a producer whose name is... He was on the Boo Crew podcast.
He was a guest.
He was a guest on the podcast, and he essentially said that there would be some news coming regarding the franchise at the end of this year, or before the end of the year, I think is how
so he
put
said
it.
Some news.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can't remember. I believe I don't even want to say who he works for.
Whatever, yeah.
Whatever. He's a producer. He's actually like...
He's somebody who should know.
He's somebody who would know, and there have been rumblings, blah, blah, blah.
All right.
So anyway, that's where it started. Then it went into New Line around Labor Day. They posted on Instagram, they posted kind of a cryptic tease about something like
Jason's calling or something like that. It was some silly
Jason's calling.
We got a message from Jason or something.
Should we answer it or something goofy like that? And I don't think there was ever any follow up on that, which was
I think
weird.
it got deleted.
Yeah, and New Line. Yeah, I think it got deleted. And New Line. My guess here. What do you think this was? My guess is that it was somebody some young social media manager knew that they had the rights at some point to Jason and thought it would just be kind of funny to put something out.
It's either that, which is very likely, or it is somebody at New Line savvy enough to know that the conversations are happening and thought, let's throw something out there real quick and just see if we can create some buzz.
Right.
And then either they took it down because it became, oh my God, new movie's coming right now, and they got nervous and said, maybe we should back off. Or they took it down because they thought that would increase hype. Because it's like, wait, why'd they delete it? You know what?
It could be like, or maybe like a test of waters.
There's a lot of people who are much more savvy than myself when it comes to social media, who are working at these companies now, who can find ways to increase hype for potential projects or gauge interest through doing kind of these interesting little social media experiments. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's a chance of that. I do. I don't think it's some like augmented reality, or some sort of if it was something that they were trying to do as like a promotional thing, it would have continued at this point.
Right.
I do think that there's a chance that it was some sort of, let's just see if we can create some buzz.
Right.
To get that Friday the 13th name in the ether again, to get it out there and get people talking. And
I do wonder, because it sounds like they just settled some more of this like a couple days ago, right? Okay. As far as like attorney fees go, too.
Sure.
So I do wonder how, like, maybe some of this is, because I'll get to the next part here, which leads me to believe that some of this is still caught up in some sort of litigation as far as who does what moving forward, or who could promote what moving forward, or who would be making this moving forward.
It is. So currently, as it stands, my understanding is that Victor Miller owns the rights to the screenplay for the first Friday the 13th. So he controls Mrs. Voorhees, little Jason who drowned in the lake. What Horror Inc. / Sean Cunningham control is the Jason Voorhees adult killer that wears a hockey mask, right. That iconic kind of symbol. But I don't believe they have anything else. That's it. So, with the exception of European rights, which I believe Cunningham has all of. So Cunningham could make a Friday the 13th movie, but could only be released overseas, which is never going to happen.
Right.
Or he can work with Victor Miller and they can do something. Or he could make a Jason movie that has nothing to do with... It'd be like Jason in name only, basically.
Okay.
So I don't know. They got to work together. Whatever.
Roy Lee is the producer that I talked about earlier.
Roy Lee.
Yes,
yeah.
He did The Ring, Blair Witch, and the Poltergeist and It remakes is what he's known as a producer on, and he's been attached to this since 2018. Is that the time? That was after the script that floated around. I'm blanking on his name. Was that Nick Antosca?
That was post.
Okay,
Nick Antosca.
He would have been attached to the LeBron James rumors, right?
Antosca or Roy Lee?
Roy Lee.
Roy Lee would have been,
yes.
the LeBron stuff.
When LeBron and his production company had
Correct.
Looked into getting the rights for this. Because I think he's affiliated. I think LeBron is affiliated with Warner's, HBO, all that.
Is he? Okay.
He has shows on there as well. So his production company has some stuff on there. So then this is what tipped me off on maybe there was some legal stuff. Sean Cunningham on his cameo. He has a cameo.
Right.
It said in his bio that he was a producer from Friday the 13th, and he said and it said
the 13th entry in the franchise
coming next year,
which is weird.
That felt weirdly specific too, like to the point where I thought, oh, that and the producer Roy Lee are the two that I stick to. Like those are the things that are getting my hopes up right now. Is because Cunningham. Like I said, it's weirdly specific to say something is coming out next year.
My hope and here's my fear. My fear is that Cunningham's going to try and make a Friday the 13th movie using what he has access to.
Yeah.
Could you make a movie about Jason Voorhees and the hockey mask just running around killing camp counselors? Yeah, of course, and I would go see it in a heartbeat. But I just wonder if, I don't know. I want it to be complete. You know what I mean? I don't want it to feel like it has to cut corners for weird rights issues.
Just because he wants to make money to pay for it. Because
that
was the other thing that Larry
Victor
Zerner,
Miller's got some legal fees to pay now.
Yeah, Larry Zerner kind of brought up, like, you know what would be a good way to make money to pay for all these legal fees? Because, I mean, let me see if I can find the...
I think I read about Victor Miller having, like, almost $1 million in legal fees, right?
Yeah, let me get the
which is so crazy.
The exact number here, because Larry Zerner like tweeted it out yesterday. And I said,
inevitably, that's going to be what's going to get him to do it, to work together. Is it's going to be a matter of, I owe my lawyers an insane amount of money, and you owe your lawyers an insane amount of money, and we need to figure this out so we can make that money back.
So here's what he said. Yeah, in awarding the money, the court held that the lawsuit brought against Victor Miller was, quote unquote, objectively unreasonable and was brought to intimidate Miller. Then he says, let's stop the fighting and get a new Friday the 13th being made. And he says, I don't know about you, but if I wasted 5 years, and $2 to $3 million in legal fees on a case that was called objectively unreasonable by the court, that would probably not be a good date. And then he would go on to, I believe in a response to somebody else, say like, hey, you know what's a good way to recoup that money is to make a Friday the 13th movie to pay for those.
And Victor Miller does... Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about what Victor Miller is the courts decided Victor Miller was owed what he got. And that's and I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But Victor Miller, if I had to guess, he doesn't give a shit about owning the rights to Jason. Victor Miller wants what he believes is the profits owed to him from a character that he helped create. So at the end of the day, money talks, right? I mean, it's true. Like, these guys are going to put aside their personal differences and their issues and this 5 years of BS because they're never going to have to even talk to each other.
No, it's
honestly, all litigation.
They're not even going to have to do anything really creatively on
No.
this.
They're both going to get paid.
Yeah.
Miller will get paid for him signing over, you can make a movie and use this stuff that I created. Cunningham will get paid. Neither one of them is going to be involved creatively in the thing. Let's just be honest. They're not. Because they don't need to be.
I can't imagine either one of them having any, like...
all that much of an interest.
Yeah, right.
At this point, it's just Friday the 13th. The reason why this lawsuit even started is Friday the 13th is a cash cow, or it should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
Especially in this era of streaming that we are in, too. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think at some point they're gonna. I think it's in everybody's best interests, including us sitting right here in this basement, that they just get together and figure this shit out and let's get a movie made.
So let me ask you then.
Yeah.
Do you think it's okay to tell for the Friday the 13th fans, fellow Friday the 13th fans out there? Do you think it's okay to get excited now? Or do you caution not to get too excited because you don't want them to get hurt again?
What
has it been? 15 years since the last movie?
It's crazy.
When did that come up? Was that?
Oh my goodness. It's been a long time. This has been the longest gap. Ever between Friday the 13th films. And for a
franchise that is 2009, so about 13 years, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I keep thinking it's 2023. I'm fast forwarding, but yeah. Do you think because I'm just gonna say I'm cautiously excited here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited that there's some sort of I'm excited that the stuff is over, that the legal stuff is over. I'm excited that it seems like there's got to be some sort of conversations happening because everybody knows there's money to be made. If you look at the money that the last Scream made, the Halloween movies, I think have done quite well.
Yeah.
The whole nostalgia thing is out there in the ether.
And honestly, look at the box office. Everybody was worried about this time of year because this is kind of, they called it like a pandemic pause. Was good because all of the movies that were kind of held up in production have been held up, and they were worried about this end of summer going into the fall as far as at the box office goes.
Yeah, and I don't think it's been great, right?
No, but what's buoyed it and what's kind of saved it a little is our horror movies. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Don't Worry, Darling is number one. That's
Barbarian did okay too, right?
Barbarian has been a big success. It's almost 30 million right now, and
which
that has been
huge.
Mostly. I think it's grown in some.
Well, it's word of mouth.
Word of mouth. It's been crazy.
Which, by the way, thanks Slash Film for waiting until fucking 3 days after the movie comes out to start posting shit on in your titles. That does it blatantly give things away? No. But it gives enough away for me to not be super jazzed about it. So just stay responsible, please.
But Pearl is in the top 10.
Yeah.
The sequel to a movie that came out this year.
Crazy.
In X. But and then The Invitation has done pretty well. It's up around 23 million. So, I mean, horror has kind of helped buoy this, what was seen as a worrying period for the box office.
I feel like horror has always done well in times that feel very scary.
I mean, if you talk about the Great Depression, I mean, that's when a lot of those Universal. Yep.
There's a reason for that.
Yes.
Yep. You want to be safe scared, not real scared, which we all are all the time.
Safe scared. And then, honestly, from a business perspective, horror movies are cheap to make.
Yep.
And you will get people in the theater for them.
Yep.
Because, like we've said, you're not going to get an older audience, but you are going to get a younger audience because younger audiences still like to go out and see horror movies.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
So we both decided to be excited.
Yes, cautiously optimistic. I would say that I'm there with you. I'm more on the cautious side.
Okay.
I think we're going to get another Friday the 13th movie. It's going to happen. So I guess I've never faltered in that belief. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
So it has been. So this has been going on since what? 2018 is what they said. 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
This lawsuit. So in that time, I mean, when do you remember when the Itasca? Do you remember the Itasca script? Well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Make it.
Because do you remember when that kind of floated around? Was that Was that like 2014, 2015?
That was before the lawsuit, I believe. I want to say it was.
I read it. I remember bits and pieces of it, and mainly like the last 20 or 30 pages of that thing.
I loved all of it because I thought the teens felt like actual real people for once, which was kind of interesting. That was something that, like, I actually thought the kids. Yes, they were archetypes, of course. They were kind of, there was a stoner and a tough guy and all that stuff. But I thought they did a good job of making you care about the kids, which was interesting, which in turn made it a little bit scarier than most of the Friday the 13th movies. I thought the concept of Jason kind of almost being powered by Crystal Lake was It was 2015, by the way.
Okay.
I thought the idea of Jason almost being like powered by some unseen force in the lake, something that like kept bringing, like every time he'd go back in the lake, he'd come out stronger. It was so cool. What a cool idea. And I thought that the finale was just balls to the wall, exactly what I would hope for from a triumphant return for the franchise. Like you were saying, that third act just felt like, holy shit, this is exactly what I want on the big screen.
Yeah.
To really, like, it doesn't matter what they put on the big screen, I'm going to be celebrating. But that felt like a real celebration of, like, he's back, baby. Like, it really did feel, I could see it, you know what I mean? A great script, loved it.
Yeah, for those who, it's Nick Antosca.
Yes.
He was a writer he was a writer on Hannibal. He was also a writer. He wrote and was showrunner for Channel Zero, which was a horror anthology series that Willie and I both really, really liked. He's been an executive producer on Chucky. He wrote Antlers, the movie that came out, I think last year. It was quite good. So that's his script. You can search for it. It's out there, and it's worth a read if you have not read it yet. Definitely
worth reading. There is also a script by Aaron Guzikowski that was out there. Okay. I don't like that one as much, but it's worth checking out.
And then we had the LeBron James rumors, which we kind of alluded to earlier. His production company showed an interest in picking up the rights for this and making a new. And then I think because it's okay. So this seems like something. LeBron seems to be a bit of a horror fan, from what I can tell.
He's a horror fan. He likes Jason. I know this.
He likes Jason.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of him working out. I think with his daughter, with Chucky on in the background. I've seen him on his yacht watching Jason movies, which is how I would like to watch all of them.
If I was LeBron, I'd be doing that. He's a fan, but it seems to me like he's a fan who has an insane amount of money because he's LeBron James, and went, I want to make a Friday the 13th movie. I'm tired of not seeing these Friday the 13th movies in the theaters. What are we doing?
Yes.
And then was like, let him know that I'm working on it. Like let's get the buzz going. And then his people came back and said, this is a nightmare. You don't want to touch this. And he goes, all right, fair enough.
Because this came out around the time he moved to LA and he started getting into the Hollywood side of things. And yeah, you're right. It seemed like, and I remember there were a lot of people like going, LeBron James, what's he doing? Like he was going to direct the thing.
Yeah, or star as Jason. Yeah, what are are we doing?
And so
Calm down.
Calm down. He's literally just going to throw money at it. Like,
Yeah.
This is
He's a fan with money. Let's go.
Yes. So
I think he took a look. Somebody took a look at.
That's kind of what I think. The legal situation said, we'll hold off here. We'll see the lay of the land here in a couple of years. But then we got the kind of the influx, the glut of fan films. Never Hike Alone.
Sure.
Was that the one we reviewed on here? No. What was the one we talked about?
The one with C.J. Graham.
C.J. Graham.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I had fun with that.
Yeah. No. Some of these fan films have been a ton of fun.
I've watched a couple of them, and they're fun. Yeah. And it's honestly, and I watched that movie directed by Debbie Sue Voorhees. That's kind of Friday the 13th inspired 13 fanboy. Mm-hmm. It's been cool to see fans keep this franchise alive in that way in the interim. It
reminds me of being a big fan of Mega Man, the video games.
Yeah,
because those died for a long time. It was just like nothing. And fan-made games kept that whole franchise alive. It was kind of amazing. It was really cool to see. And now they're making new games. So.
Star Trek is a kind of a good example too. Back in it got canceled. Star Trek got canceled after 3 seasons. It was nowhere for years, and it was kept alive through like conventions and fans talking about it. And then finally, someone, I believe at Paramount, said, "You know what? We could probably make some money making a movie with these people." So that's what they did, and then they went on to make like 8 movies.
That is the opposite of the guy who yelled at Carpenter about Escape from L.A. That's positive, positive fandom, and I love it.
It's still out there, and I wish people would focus more on it instead of doing things like saying like all Star Trek fans are like this, or all Star Wars fans hate this. Because I go to certain places. We go to conventions. When I go to Disney, I go to the Star Wars park, and it's not the people that are on there yelling about the bots yelling about Last Jedi. It's people who genuinely enjoy Star Wars, and they're running around with lightsabers. Yep. So I wish people would focus. Oh, they're also giving a corporation a ton of money, but but you know what I mean. There is a cynical side of me too that has to point that out. Yeah. But I wish we would focus, because a lot of these people that are online that are bitching about things and doing nothing but complaining aren't actually fans. They're just trolls, and that's how they should be treated. Anyway, what do you want to see then from, like, so let's say they work it out. Let's say Miller and Cunningham work it out. They say we're not going to get a compromised version of Jason or Friday the 13th.
Yeah. We have the access to all of the stuff.
What would you like to see? Would you like to see a fresh start? Would you like to see a Legacy sequel of some sort? What are you thinking for Friday the 13th?
It's weird because like Friday the 13th is my favorite like movie franchise ever. Period. Horror or not. And I find it strange because like you would think, because it's so close to my heart, that I would have some sort of idea for what I want from its inevitable return, and I don't. Everything you listed there, I am A-okay with. That's the beauty of the franchise, is just do it. I'm going. Like I'm not gonna. I might not even like it, but like I'm gonna go. The tough thing is, if you go with the Legacy sequel route, like where do you branch off from?
That's kind of what I'm asking is, like, do you want to see them go the Jamie Lee Curtis, the Laurie Strode, like Halloween 2018 route?
Who's your character though? Like
Feldman. Well,
I guess
no, not really. I guess it wouldn't necessarily be
Tom Matthews.
Tom Matthews.
They've kind of done that with the fan films, so
right.
You know, I think you just start it over. Honestly, that's probably the cleanest way to do it. Just make a new. Give me a movie where Jason kills people in fun, interesting ways, and give it a Stranger Things vibe. In terms of capturing, make it a period piece, make it set in the 80s, and give me an 80s that feels pretty genuine.
Okay, so you said you want a period piece.
Yeah, I want an 80s movie.
Okay.
I want to keep it set in the 80s. I don't want the teen characters tweeting and
Interesting.
having
Okay.
cell phones and stuff. I would go straight up, make it a movie set in the 80s. Have fun with it. Why not? Why not? An 80s set with an 80s soundtrack, Friday the 13th movie.
Part of the fun, with period pieces too, is you can still have you can make that stuff feel modern too with the kids in it. They don't necessarily have to. Yeah, we see it in, I think Stranger Things is probably a good example of that. Stranger Things, the kids feel like modern kids.
And that's what I meant, is like you can make characters exist within a setting that's outside of our current time, but also make them feel relatable and make them feel current without taking away from that period you set the story in. That's what I meant by Stranger Things, by the vibe.
Okay.
Is Stranger Things feels genuinely like the characters live in the 80s. It feels like I feel like they do, but nothing about it feels dated or none of it feels pandery to me. Like none of it feels like it's like, look, it's the 80s. Look, there's none of that. It just feels naturally. You know what I mean?
So now that you've been talking about this, because in my head I've just said, make a movie about teenagers today going to a summer camp and getting killed. And because I think every generation should have this. But when you say this, I find a lot of movies, shows written about teenagers by people in their 30s and 40s to be a little... You have to find...
But if you're writing teenagers when they were teenagers, I think it can work.
I'm kind of with you there. And I think Scream has done a good job of kids. So we've got that market cornered right now.
Sure,
with our franchise focusing on the kids today. I still think you can do it. I think you have to find the right. But this is a weird thing, and I'm gonna list off some directors and some creative people that I want you to give an up or down to, but. You don't want it to be like Scream, Friday the 13th. You don't want it to be.
It shouldn't be.
I don't want it to be self-referential.
No.
I don't want it to be snarky. I don't want it to be constantly funny. You know,
I want it to be kind of mean.
Kind of mean, yes.
But also pretty funny.
Yeah. I want it to be a party movie.
Yes, I absolutely. I want it to be a celebration, and I think that the beauty of setting it in the 80s is, I think you could be kind of nebulous about its place in the canon. Like it's okay. Like I'm not uncomfortable with them. Like with Jason having been a thing that has existed, and maybe these kids are like not buying into it. Like, that was a few years back. Like
that's what I had in my head for setting it in today. Is you can almost, but that might be too self-referential. You could be like, this guy's been around for 20 years now.
Yeah, he's like 100.
He's what are we talking about? And then Jason. So in my version, Jason exists. He just hasn't been around for a while. And
I think you could almost just do a fun thing where it takes place in the 80s, and you have somebody mention like, but the body went missing, and it could literally be a sequel to like any of those movies. Like it could take place anywhere in that. Because like at the end of every one of those movies, his body goes missing, pretty much. Like he disappears, you know. So
So you don't want any sort of multiverse.
I don't think we need any of that. We could, but
so I think we don't want to see any sort of like legacy sequel with like a Tommy Jarvis legacy sequel.
I kind of don't.
I don't either. I said Feldman because he's thrown that idea around in the past. I think when H2O came out, he was throwing.
I love Feldman.
I do too. But that leads me to my next question. Do you want to see, are there any returning characters, or are there any returning casts maybe you want to see show up in a cameo? Is there anybody you want to see play Jason in particular? The guy, Roy Moore threw out, in that article I was reading, he threw out the person who played Predator and Prey has always wanted to play Jason, he said.
Oh, yeah. That'd be right.
Do you want to see Kane back? Do you want to see CJ Graham back?
If you're going to bring back a guy who did Jason, bring back Derek Mears. Because I think he's like really, really good, like really good, and he was in a movie that unfortunately was not received great. I love it. I think it's
the remake we're talking about. Yes, I think he is a terrific Jason.
He's a fantastic Jason,
and I wish he would have had more movies to show that.
Yeah, and he's like super passionate about that character. Bring back Mears. The guy's a tank too. Like he could do it still. I think. I don't think there's any issue there. If you're going to bring back somebody, right? If not,
what about cameos? Like, what about quick little, Like,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
wanna see
Kane seems like an obvious choice.
I would like to see Kane kind of wandering in the background.
Kane would be cool. You know,
see-
some of the people I would like aren't with us anymore, so that's tough.
I would like to see Feldman playing Ralph, the crazy Ralph. Like, like say, don't go there.
Feldman could be cool.
Honestly,
Kane would be cool. Feldman might be distracting though. You might be.
that's kind of
I
Kane
wouldn't be distracting to me. Kane would be cool. I mean, do you want to throw Ari Lehman in there?
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
You could have a fun Ari.
But the most I don't want to see like speaking lines. I kind of want to see like them wandering in the background, so I can point out and say, "Oh, there's Kane Hodder. He's a security guard or whatever."
No, I don't want to be winked, nudged.
Right.
I just want it to be a thing that's there.
Right. You don't want to see Kane Hodder be the Stan Lee.
Hey. No, I don't need that.
I absolutely do.
It could be sweet.
The Stan Lee of the Jason universe.
No, Kane would be the obvious
Tom
choice.
Matthews?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kane would be the obvious choice.
Yeah.
For that. That's the one person where I go, you got to get the guy. But as far as returning, Derek Mears would be a
for Jason.
Yeah, because he was so good. And he didn't really like you said, he should have had a couple more movies to really show people how good he was. So.
And as far as the cast goes, no matter where it's set, I just want a bunch of unknown.
Give me young
kids.
people that I don't know or care about.
Maybe one of them will end up being a star like Kevin Bacon was.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't want to know any of them.
No.
And guess what? With how old I am, it's not going to be that big of a problem. I'm probably not going to know any of these
Exactly.
people. Yeah.
If you want to cast somebody as like the sheriff, like somebody who's like more of a known factor, like
because I think you might have to in some way to get people in the theater, maybe.
Well, so like I'm just throwing it out there. Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. You want him to be in this?
Well, yeah.
Oh, wasn't he like didn't he say something about Friday the 13th?
Yeah. He the reason why he pursued acting was because his dream has always been to play Jason. Here we go.
Okay.
Give it to Hugh. He would do it. I really think he would.
Yeah.
There's a fun. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. There's a fun bit of a reporter, some sort of like TMZ or type person, going, "Hey Hugh, like, still want to play Jason?" And he goes, "You've done your homework." So
I like that. What about
Hugh Jackman as Jason?
What about Jason's mom or Elias? Elias, you want to see those characters? Elias he's Jason's father.
This is tough because there's always been a part of me that has wanted to just like, if we're gonna reboot, let's just make it like we've never really truly attempted a remake of Friday the 13th. And by remake I mean kind of just like its own thing, but like the Mrs. Voorhees being the killer, no Jason. I don't think you can do that at this point. I think the anticipation and the wait and the excitement has been so long, and it's gone on for so long that like you can't. Jason's re-debut, Friday the 13th's re-debut on the big screen has to be Jason in the hockey mask. You can't.
Yeah.
But.
So you would go straight to the hockey mask?
Straight to You
wouldn't go to Sackhead?
Nope.
Okay. I think
he's already a legend that's been established. And
how did the reboot do it? He starts in the Sackhead and then he finds the hockey.
And the mother stuff is the opening credits, which is very succinct and very great job.
Yeah, if you want to do that again, the mother opening credits, you can. I don't think it's necessary.
You could. I don't think you need to do it.
I think you could do that in a line of dialogue.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Studios love content right now.
Right.
Everybody's got a streaming service, right? Everybody's got something going on. Why would Friday the 13th be any different? So, okay, I don't know what production company actually would produce this thing. I'm just going to say HBO Max.
HBO Max or Paramount Plus would be...
Okay.
Those would be the two that I would think would scoop this up. I guess Blumhouse is always floating out there.
Let's just say HBO Max just for shits and giggles.
Because they have the New Line connection, I believe.
Right. So there's a theatrical Friday the 13th movie. It takes place in the 80s like I want. It's Jason in the hockey mask. It's back to basics. We're getting crazy and having fun. It's a celebration of a film. It does gangbusters. Because I really think a new Friday the 13th is going to do very well. Somebody at whatever company, Warner, is going to say, we need something for HBO Max.
Right.
We need a streaming series. That's where you do Mrs. Voorhees and Elias, and you do like a mini series, like an 8-episode. This is the story of
something similar to like a Bates Motel,
yes,
or something like that. Yeah.
That's where you do that.
Okay.
And then you build up to make it a limited series where you build up to her starting working at the camp.
Okay.
Or however you want to do it.
I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think that'd be neat. I'd watch it.
I would watch it. I like
you
that.
You could draw from some of the comic books and things, and yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah, that's mainly where,
And it seems honestly like something they would probably think about doing. Somebody somewhere will say that.
Yeah.
If they haven't already. So
it's definitely something that someone would pitch, and then it would be an idea they kick around. Whether or not they would make it is something
totally different.
Because I assume what happens now is someone comes in. They probably have ideas for these movies, and then someone comes in and they bring in a bunch of people, and they
how can we branch out of this movie?
How many streaming shows can we do here? What else can we do here?
100%.
Yeah,
that's part of the deal now. So
okay, I think that's it. I'm going to ask you now. I'm going to list off potential. I've got directors here.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to list these off. I'm going to start with some bigger names because I've seen these floated around, and some of them have said in the past that Friday the 13th is one of their dream projects.
Yeah, sure.
So these are pie in the sky names I'm going to start with, and then we're going to get into what I think are a little bit more realistic names.
Okay.
And then we'll get into probably just that.
Yeah.
So maybe unrealistic, but smaller filmmakers. First one is Ty West, who I believe has talked about doing a Friday the 13th movie in the past. I'm not 100% sure on that. But Ty West, of course, House of the Devil, X has been a big hit. Pearl is in theaters now and a hit. What do you think of Ty West doing a new Friday the 13th movie?
No, I'm good. I love Ty West. I really do. I think he's really, like, I need to see X. I don't know how I haven't seen it yet. But I really like his work. I like him as a person. His interviews I've always really enjoyed. He is not what I would want from a Friday the 13th movie. From this Friday the 13th movie. From the return to the franchise. If he was to... it's not the vibe I'm going for. It's not. I feel he would... I'm sure do a great job, but like, I feel like he would be trying to make something a little more grounded and a little more dark and a little more back to scary. And I'm not saying it can't be those things, but I also kind of want it to be a blast and fun. Because none of these Lego sequels, these revivals, have been able to do that yet for good reason. I don't think Halloween needed to be that. Halloween's not the franchise that should be some sort of like big celebration movie. Nor should Scream have been. Well, Scream kind of was in a way.
Yeah.
In a way. But Friday's your chance to like make a party movie and just have a great time with it. And I don't think Ty is the guy for that.
This is another one. I'm with you. Of some of what I'm going to name, Ty West is near the top of kind of my dream. I think he'd kill it. Maybe it's because I've seen X and seen some of what he's done in there. And also when you talk about a period piece, I think he could fit that as well because he's done that in the past.
Yeah.
This one, though, he's said that this is his dream project. It's kind of interesting. Mike Flanagan, of course, who did Dr. Sleep, Midnight Mass. I mean, I'm gonna say no for me, but like, just like with Ty West, like I would watch the shit out of it. Right.
Because, like, Flanagan's would be, like, this crazy, like, character study of, like...
He would have to do a streaming show, because he'd branch out and he'd be doing flashbacks to Elias and Jason Bourne.
He would love the Mrs. Voorhees stuff.
Yes.
Give him the show that I just accidentally pitched.
Right.
That's Flanagan.
He would probably really love that, if you took that Antarctica idea of the lake... fueling Jason.
Oh my God.
He would probably be doing like flashbacks to.
He would love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love Mike Flanagan, but not who I would want for.
I think so. Part of the issue here with Friday the 13th is, and I don't want to insult anybody who I think is a good pick for Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
But there are directors who have too strong of a voice for a Friday the 13th movie. I kind of like my Friday the 13th movies to be more workmanlike. Your Steve Miner, for example.
Yeah.
Someone who
Unless it's like Taika. Like if Taika Waititi is going to direct, like Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sign you up.
Let's go.
So
Let's do it.
I just think because Tarantino was kicked around. He kicked around. Was it this or Halloween? I can't remember. Maybe
Both,
Halloween.
I think, at different
it was
points. Well, Tarantino wrote a treatment for, or at least a treatment for Halloween 6.
That's right. Yeah.
If not a full script, I think it's just a treatment. But yeah, he was involved in that. But I think he's been in the mix at some point.
But that's where I'm at with Flanagan. Is I don't want to see like a 2.5 hour Friday the 13th movie. That's
Flanagan's
he's great. I love Mike.
He's
Flanagan.
like an artist director.
Yeah,
he's not.
I don't think he meshes well with what I want from a Friday. I'm with you here.
I just feel like it's not the best use of his. It's just not.
And that's kind of where I'm at with Ty West too. Is it feels a little bit like. I don't agree with some of the people that go, oh, they're just going to he's just going to go make a Marvel movie or whatever. Some of these directors, it's like they say, I don't think it's like a waste of these people's talent.
No.
But I do think like with Mike Flanagan, I think his strengths are suited better for some of his own stuff. And
I feel like either one of those guys is going to go a direction that's not what I'm hoping for from a return. But I would welcome either one for sure. I mean, I'm going to welcome anybody.
Adam Wingard or Simon Barrett?
I'm not super familiar with Simon Barrett.
Yeah, I put them together because they've worked together in the past on like You're Next, The Guest. Yeah.
Yep. Wingard, 100%. Totally down. I have zero reservations about that whatsoever.
Okay.
Wingard's a riot.
Yes.
Like that. Like he would kill it.
The problem is he's going to be tied up for a little bit, I believe.
He's making 40 Godzilla things.
We need to crank this bad boy out.
But Godzilla vs. Kong was a shit ton of fun.
Yes. I think Wingard's a good choice.
Yes. I think he's phenomenal. I just don't think it's going to happen. But Wingard would kill it. I think that guy is super talented. I've enjoyed everything I've seen from Wingard.
Yeah. Last big name here.
Yeah.
James Wan.
No.
Okay.
I like Wan, but no. Not even remotely what I want from...
I'm putting him second behind Wingard, and here's my reasoning. I think James Wan, more than, say, like a Mike Flanagan, may be a little bit more adaptable. I
agree.
Yeah, I think he could change his... He's shown that he can change his style.
He'd be able to have fun with it, where I think Flanagan... Not that Flanagan and Ty West are not fun directors, in my opinion. Like, they're not... I don't have fun watching this the stuff that they put out. Like, I love it.
But I think their style is always present in their movies, whereas Wan can sometimes disappear into the movie.
He can be a bit of a chameleon. Like, Aquaman, or even Fast 7.
Right.
I don't look at those and go, oh, it's a James Wan film. I
Right.
just don't. Like, that's not... but I look at, everything he did before that, and some stuff he's done since, and like that. Wan has a certain vibe. He would be my second as well, but he's still, for me, it's no. It's just not what I want.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go into some
Wingard. That's a winner.
So here are some maybe lesser known directors, and we haven't.
I hope I know him.
We haven't talked about you know this one. We haven't, or at least you know the film she made. We haven't talked about a woman. Yeah, we've never had a Friday the 13th movie directed by
100% down. Totally
female.
down.
Lee Janiak, who did the Fear Street movies.
Oh, 100% down. Totally. Yep.
I think. Yeah, I like this. I kind of want to see it. The only reason is just because of the only reason I wouldn't want to see this is because like I know how the culture is on the internet right now, and you're going to get a lot of people on the internet.
It's woke.
Here comes
it's woke.
Calling a Friday the 13th movie woke would be the fucking funniest thing.
It's gonna happen.
But that's what I mean. If they put a female director on this, you're gonna get it, and then that poor person is going to have to deal with that. So hopefully they wouldn't be embarrassing. But I kind of like that idea. Lee Janiak.
Down with this. If you do my 80s set thing, I hope it's not too like close to what
Fear Street
she's done before.
Right.
But Fear Street's its own beast. So no, I'm down 100%. And I think a female voice in the franchise it's welcome to me. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I like that. Johan Roberts, who did The Strangers Pray at Night.
And down. That's a workman. That's a workman director. Somebody who I think Johan does have a vision. I think there's a style there for sure. I think you see it shine in some of the movies. Like, I think you see it shine in Pray at Night. I do think you see moments of it shine in Welcome to Raccoon City, actually. There's a couple moments in that movie that are pretty... that feel like he's got...
I like that movie, by the way.
I do too. I do too.
I think people are too. I think so,
it's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
That sequence, that gunfire sequence, when the gunfire is the only thing lighting, the only source of light.
Yes.
That's sweet.
The only thing with him is kind of like with it was Marcus Nispel, right? Who did the remake. I like the remake. It's a little bit too sleek.
There's a sheen.
There's a sheen to it.
Yeah.
It would feel a little bit more like that, which is fine.
But I do think Pray at Night has a certain, without being overtly like, we want this movie to feel like a certain decade. Pray at Night feels like a movie from a different decade, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I think he might be able to.
If they did the period
It's a
piece.
slick movie, but I think he could still make it feel like it's not overly slick. You know, like it's got something of a throwback. Even if he was directing a Friday the 13th movie that took place in modern times, I think he could give it a vibe and a feel that makes it feel period without being period. So I'm down with that. That might be my favorite choice.
Okay. Christopher Landon, who did Happy Death Day to You, Happy Death Day, and Freaky.
No.
I feel like...
Too cheeky for me. For Friday the 13th.
If they were to... He would be a good choice for, like, Scream.
Oh,
honestly,
excellent.
You know what?
Phenomenal.
I think I could see him doing... Friday the 13th is a bad fit for him, but there are other franchises. I think Scream would be good, and I think maybe even a Nightmare movie.
He'd crush it with Child's Play.
Right.
I think, like, if you were to... And we've talked about this recently, if I remember correctly, like, if you revive something like The Faculty or Disturbing Behavior, Urban Legend,
90s, yeah,
he would absolutely knock it out of the park. Friday the 13th, not. I don't think so.
Is it Damien Leone, the guy who did Terrifier?
It'd be brutal.
That's kind of why I have him on here.
It'd be sweet.
Because
Kills.
I think... Oh, you know what? Another one. I'm kind of leaning... So I like Johanna Roberts. Like I said, I'm kind of leaning Lee Janiak because I remembered the bread slicer kill in Fear Street.
It's insane.
And if we can get more of that from her.
Holy smokes.
But that would be my argument for Leone is...
the kills
are important in a Friday the 13th movie.
Yes. But here's the thing people miss, I feel like, with Friday the 13th. I feel like it gets misinterpreted sometimes. And here's what I mean. Even in a movie like Adam Green's like the Hatchet films, phenomenal kills in the Hatchet films. Certainly Hatchet is an ode to Friday the 13th, right? I mean, Kane Hodder's playing the killer.
We didn't even mention Adam Green or Joe Lynch.
Right.
Yeah.
Who would both be fine choices.
I think good, yeah.
But the thing that I think people miss with the Friday the 13th kills is that, yes, they are gory, nasty, brutal, over the top sometimes, but they're quick. There's a sudden... I can't snap it. Do you know? I don't know how to snap my fingers.
No, I didn't know that.
I can't do it. I just pretended to, but I don't know how. There's a suddenness, and the kills in Friday the 13th franchise are an exclamation point at the end of the sentence. The kills in movies like Hatchet, which is still way over the top and silly, but still in Hatchet, or in Terrifier.
Yeah.
They're not an exclamation point. They go on. They're whatever you call those three dots.
Yeah, an ellipsis, right?
An ellipsis. Thank you. English minor over here doesn't know what an ellipsis is. I do know what it is. Didn't know the name. They continue, and there's a certain element of lingering on the kill that takes it from like a sudden shock, excitement factor, oh shit, to a now I'm feeling uncomfortable because this is still happening. That's why. Do I think he could handle the like he could do some cool creative kills? 100%. But that's the difference between Damien Leone and the bread slicer on Fear Street. That vibe between the kills in Terrifier and the bread slicer are... One of them feels sudden and like yes, it's gnarly, but there's a certain like oh shit, like there's an excitement to it almost, and the other one feels kind of like icky. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's rare that Friday the 13th kills feel icky. Jason Goes to Hell is one that I can think of that feels a little icky.
I think that's the ickiest of the movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so. And I didn't have Adam Green and Joe Lynch on here, but I do want to talk about them just real quick for a second.
Solid candidates. Either one.
I think there's a danger though, because they're both obvious fans. And I think sometimes there's a danger when you maybe have fans of a property. I kind of don't hate having someone that's going to come in not being a huge fan of a franchise or a character, and this is applicable to superhero character, any sort of like someone with a more critical eye towards this thing that's not just going to like fanboy out the entire time. So that would be my worry with them, but also they could probably make it. But I'm just not sure if that's what I'm not sure where they're at in their careers, if this is a movie I would want from them.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's almost like a step back.
Right.
For either one of those guys at this point. I think I think there was a time when either one could be like the perfect choice. I think at this point, I don't think I want to see either one of those guys do this.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it feels almost, like I said, a step back for them.
Just a couple more here. Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who did Haunt, I have on here. You remember?
Ooh. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm down. Haunt is kind of like a haunted house style.
What a sweet movie!
Yeah, Haunt is really. I also just brought that up because we love Haunt.
It rules.
Yes.
It rules.
But I think they handle tension well. I think they could do something like this.
Yeah.
Agreed. There were a couple of these. I don't know if you've seen The Ranger, The Wrong Turn remake, or Hellfest.
None.
Okay. I have Jennifer Wexler who did The Ranger. It's kind of like it's on Shudder. It's kind of like a punk rock slasher movie. It's fun. She could be a candidate too, especially if we're going to go a route of a female director. Mike P. Nelson did The Wrong Turn remake. And Gregory Plotkin did Hellfest. Hellfest is kind of a fun slasher that I think could work. The last one I want to ask you is, what do you think about maybe one of the fan film directors? Like the Never Hike Alone guy. I mean,
look, you might suffer from the same issue that you do with like an Adam Green or a Joe Lynch in a way. There's a certain element of like, it's a fan. That's a fan. Like this person is a big enough fan of Friday the 13th to like crowdfund a movie, which is great and it's awesome. And there's a place for that. And it's not a lack of talent by any stretch of the imagination. Like I couldn't make Never Hike Alone. I'm not going to pretend I could. But you almost wonder if maybe if I'm going for, once again, kind of that triumphant return for this franchise, I don't know if that's the way I want to go. Right. I want to go with somebody who maybe has a little bit of bigger budget theatrical clout.
I would like to see like those, because the ones we watched. Vengeance was the one we talked about, and Never Hike Alone, which I've seen.
Yes, Vengeance. Yes,
I think those guys did a great job. I would like them to do something outside of a Friday the 13th movie, maybe something on their own. I think that would be cool. So, I branch out a little bit.
I think it's super cool. I love that those exist, but I just wonder if that is the right choice for a bigger budget theatrical.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I feel shitty saying that because I think they're really cool, but I don't know. For me, Wingard's a great choice if you're going to go with some of the guys that are a little bit, the upper echelon, so to speak. But I think there's a few really cool choices on there that you could go with for sure, no question.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
All right. So I was kind of figured we'd go long on this one, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, we've always threatened.
It's Friday the 13th. So.
We have always threatened if this movie goes into production, this is going like every week.
The Friday the 13th.
We're going to at least cover some bit of news. And if anybody's afraid of spoilers, when this movie happens, because it's going to happen, you just skip those segments because Willie and I are going to follow this thing.
Yeah, we're going to know every kill by the time Yeah, because we can't handle ourselves.
No, I have
Not when it comes to this.
It's like I mentioned I was out of town for the last week, and I kind of stayed away from. I was kind of out of the loop for a little bit, and that's when the Halloween trailer dropped, and I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched that or the Hellraiser trailer because now I'm just like, you know what? It's a week or two away.
Yeah,
like I'm not gonna bother with it. So we're gonna cut this one short. We're gonna do we're going to talk about some video games here in the Tiny Terror, I think, a little bit. We'll talk a little about that. But, Willie, I want to talk to you. I forgot to talk to you before the show. Next week, we've got a couple movies coming out, or a couple of things that we wanted to watch.
Yes, that's true.
Werewolf by Night.
Which I am so... Have you seen The Buzz?
Apparently, this is very good.
Apparently, it
What
rules.
did I see? It's so good. The guy from Blade decided to quit today because he could not live up to.
Yeah, that's not great.
Did you see what I said in the Discord? It's time to bring back Norrington. Get him out of retirement.
I know, right?
Did you?
They'll find somebody. It's
Norrington, Stephen Dorff in 2018 said Norrington is working on like a project with like miniatures that will be done in like a decade.
sick.
He's just in his house doing it.
That rules. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll find somebody. It's fine. They'll be okay. I'm not saying it'll be great, but they'll find somebody.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about Werewolf by Night for a while.
Hell yeah.
Apparently it's really good.
Pumped. Like the reviews are great. A nice brisk 57 minutes, I think it is what it's at. Apparently Man-Thing steals the fucking show.
Okay.
Which is awesome. The werewolf is practical, which is awesome.
Do you think this is going to get... Do you think now Giacchino will jump on Blade?
I think there's a chance.
Uh-huh.
If it's as good as people are saying it is, why not?
Maybe we should talk... This is something next week we can make a judgment.
I'd be down.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
So, okay.
I'm excited to see it. So
then Hellraiser on Hulu, I think we were both interested in.
Yeah,
do you want to double feature it? What do you want to do? Because then we have Halloween Ends, and we have to talk about it.
We have to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's talk about Hellraiser and
Werewolf by Night.
We both have the streaming services that they're on.
Yes.
Disney Plus and Hulu. And
you have Peacock, correct, as well?
I have access to Peacock.
Okay.
Yes, which Ends will be on.
Yes.
So I'll be able to make that happen. Yes. Do I have it?
Heavens
no.
I've got a feeling we might go a little long, but we're gonna have to block out some time for Ends, is what I'm thinking. We're gonna have to devote a whole episode to Ends.
Because it's Ends.
Yes.
And if the things I've read about Ends are true, which
we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Are.
We were gonna have a lot to discuss.
This could either be the raddest thing ever, or one of the things that you might hear me negatively go, what are we doing? So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was gonna be that excited for Ends. Like Kills was a ton of fun.
Right.
It's not a good movie, but it's a ton of fun. But with Ends, I was like, whatever. Let's do it. Let's move on. Now I'm kind of like, this is sweet. Let's go. I can't wait.
Okay, so that's the plan for next month. And then yeah. So cool. So it'll be a little bit like we used to do on the old bed on this a month ago before we just started talking about whatever the hell
distant past,
whatever the hell we wanted to talk about,
right.
Which is Friday the 13th for an hour.
That's how we roll.
Excellent. All right, so we will see you next time. Hey, stay safe out there, everybody, especially if you are listening to us in one of the southern states right now, because I know it's...
Yes, please.
So please stay safe, everybody, and take care. We'll see you next time.